Hey, what's up, guys? Shuckle King here, bringing you my draft analysis for Eon World Trophy Season 2. Yeah, and I know this video is late. I was supposed to post it like over a week ago. I've been crazy busy. As you guys can see, this is my third Wi-Fi league, which is, I think, more than all other Wi-Fi leagues combined, like that I've done previously, and are all happening at the same, and 3 are happening at the same time. So it's just insanely busy for me on that front. Stuff that you don't care about, but I'm debating between a couple job offers, which is great to have in this current situation right now. And I currently have a pretty nice job at the first place, so there's a lot of decisions going on in life as well. Doing so many Pokemon related things right now, it's crazy in the middle of all this. And still going to work sometimes. Every other week I have to go to work. But anyway, you guys don't necessarily care about that. You do care about this league, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Otto is great at running leagues and such, and Eon World Trophy Season 1 was a lot of fun. Obviously, it's a lot more fun for me because I won the first season, and I plan to continue on that this season. And we have a couple returning coaches and some new faces, so I like the mix that we have this season. Again, third Wi-Fi league, so don't expect the most... I would expect the highest quality of games. You can't expect the highest quality of games when you're stuck with Leo for TVL, but otherwise I should be putting out pretty good content. Hopefully I can win 3 for 3 leagues. Give me at least one of these, though, and I'll be pretty happy. But with this league, I got second pick, so that's pretty clutch normally. I would say it's pretty clutch normally. I mean, I have Zeraora Dragapult right now for APA, and they're both like justifiably first overall picks, or second round, or first or second pick overalls. So I don't really want to try those, and I feel like there's not many top tier mons in the pre-home formula, or the pre-home existing draft pool. So it's not the greatest position for me because I don't want to be duplicating mons, at least the top tier mons anyway, maybe lower tier mons, but. What I decided to get with my first overall pick, and I'm going to basically build my entire team around supporting this mon and making sure it can shine, and that is Aegislash. Aegislash was banned in a couple leagues that I've seen. I think for the most part, Aegislash is generally allowed. I think it might have been banned for APA. It was banned for APA, yes, it was. But it's allowed in this league, and I do want to capitalize on it. I guess Necrozma was another pick that I could have gotten with my first overall or second overall pick, but I feel like the mon is slightly overrated, so I feel like it's going to be overrated. It's doing really well in other leagues, but we'll see. But I feel like Aegislash is super reliable with just how bulky it is. It lost a little bit of bulk compared to previous gen, but it's still really reliable. It went down from 140 in defense and SPDEF to 140. So I lost, 10 out of 150 in each defense. That's like a 7-8% defense drop. And with the 7-8% defense boost in the previous gen, it was currently banned in almost all leagues. So I feel like just because of like a 7-8% decrease in the bulk shouldn't like really make that much of a difference in terms of how viable it is. Another reason Aegislash might be allowed is because a King Shield only lowers attack by 1 stage as opposed to 2 stages. So that's another reason why Aegislash got a little bit nerfed. But I still feel like this mon is super, super solid with both physical sets. The 2 most popular sets on Smogon, I believe, I don't keep totally up to date with it, but are Specs and Banded. And both sets run really well. So it could definitely be offensive, but I'm also a fan of like a special defensive or physically defensive Toxic King Shield set. Can really make teams annoyed and tough to break this mon. So also has reliable priority, a lot of resistances. So I feel like Aegislash is a solid first overall mon. But I will have to wait a while because it's 12 people in this league, so I have to wait 20 picks before my next mon. So I feel like a lot of top tier threats are going to be gone, and I could have gotten things that might have been slightly worse in Aegislash, but my top 2 I think overall could have been better. Or so I thought. But anyway, currently I want to support Aegislash, and it's it's weak to dark, moves Ghost, Fire, Ground. Ghost, really? There's only Dragapult and Gengar, so Financiers for those two. I could run, I guess, Band and Shadow Sneak to do a lot of damage, but fire moves, or fire types are pretty annoying. Ground types are annoying. Aegislash is a steel that doesn't have rocks, so I'm going to have to find a couple of rockers in that role. Obviously, it doesn't have the speed, and it also kind of doesn't really take on bulky waters terribly well, but doesn't really break through them if they have recovery, unless if I have Toxic. I could have Sword Stance, but they could have Scalds and Haze and whatnot. So I want to get mons that could help out on all those picks. And another issue with Aegislash, it's this league, it's 200 points out of 1,000 points. So I already used 20% of my budget for 10% of my draft. So something I have to consider because we have to get 10 picks with our 1,000 points. But I do want another top tier threat with this Aegislash. And what I feel like pairs perfectly, pretty close to perfectly, is Clefable. I was very surprised that Clefable lasted all the way around here, but kind of like with APA, I'm going to just take the best things available. I mean, Dragapult and Zeraora don't necessarily match, but for my first two picks in general, I like just getting the best mons. And I feel like Clefable was the best mon available at this point, and I believe it was 180 points, yeah, so it was in the top tier because all the 200-point mons were gone by the time it came back to me. But Clefable, don't have to worry about dragons. With the combination of Aegislash and Clefable, I'm pretty happy about that. Not that there's a ton. Well, I guess there's Kyurem, Como. There's a couple dragons, but Dragapult, obviously. But Clefable handles Dragapult really, really well, so I'm definitely okay with that. But this is a rocker, so didn't have that with the Aegislash. Has Heal Bell support in case Aegislash gets Skull burned, potentially. Unaware in case if there's like an annoying setup sweeper that I can deal with. A very, very solid, maybe one of the best dark resists in the game. So Clefable, just overall solid. Stats are a little bit to be desired, but it just takes hits well enough. And the option to pass wishes into Aegislash, because Aegislash is pretty low HP, I should be close to getting it to full HP if I can send the max HP wish off to an Aegislash. And Aegislash takes on a lot of types pretty well with Clefable. None of them, they don't share any weaknesses between the two. So I really like that combination there. And I believe Clefable has Teleport. Let me see. It does get Teleport. So like in a very worst case scenario, I could wish Teleport into Aegislash. So I want 100% of free switching into that. So that's definitely interesting tech. Clefable can also be offensive. Like Aegislash can be offensive with Specs or Bandit or even Scarfed or Autonomized. Clefable can run Scarf, not as reliably, but like a Life Orb set can definitely do a lot of damage because Fairy plus Fire hits a lot of mons, and then Thunderbolt to hit those bulky waters. I was saying before, can be annoying. So spent a lot of points for these two mons. My second and third pick, and then fourth and fifth and so forth, are basically wheel picks because I had the second pick, so there's only one person in between, and I can kind of figure at least what they want, or I can grab, like with my second and fourth picks and so forth, the mon that I'm pretty sure they're not going to, I had the better chance of them maybe grabbing, and then with my third, fifth, seventh pick, so forth, I can pick mons and I'm pretty confident they wouldn't pick in that wheel slot. So the third Pokemon I picked is Rotom Wash. Now I thought this mon was pretty bad in the past, considering the point values, because I really like my bulky waters to have reliable recovery, and Pain Split isn't the best option. Rest is obviously not the best option either. But I do like Suicune, so we'll ignore that part. But I feel like Rotom just wasn't strong enough. The thing is with Suicune, it can like sweep and win games in and of itself, and Rotom normally can't do that, but it does have Nasty Plot this gen, so that definitely gives it an opportunity, again, an offensive threat potentially to pair with Aegislash and Clefable, but mostly in a defensive role. But it takes on the fire types that Aegislash doesn't want to deal with, same with ground types. It can run Choice Scarf, so it definitely can fulfill that speedy role, though it's not inherently that fast. For like a top speed mon anyway, so I'm going to have to find some more speed. Obviously can take on bulky waters, especially if I set up Nasty Plots, and they're facing go for electric moves. I was debating Rotom Heat in this slot, but I wanted something to take on bulky waters pretty reliably. Clefable can, with really no problems, but Rotom Wash is a second mon that can really deal with those. So with these first three picks, I spent 520 out of my 1,000 points. So I need to spend less points from these next 7 mons than the first 3 mons that I got. So might be in a little bit of a pickle there, but I really do have to spend my points wisely and get some value mons. I feel like these first 3 mons might be a little underwhelming, maybe because I'm just so low on Rotom Wash, but I do want to give it a try this gen, and hopefully it works out. Nothing terribly offensive, like inherently really, really strong, like a Kommo-o or something like that, but I feel like they're really solid defensive core. Still weak to Ghost and not much speed. So they're the 2 things I should be prioritizing, as well as getting value picks. And with this next pick, next 2 picks, I'm gonna go for the value over getting things that I'm still weak for my Aegislash. And I'm gonna go with Appleton. Appleton is resistant to ground moves, so that's another thing that Aegislash is weak to. Also resists fire with the combination of Grass and Dragon being neutral, and then Thick Fat being a resistance to it, and getting Earthquake, so it can actually hit the fire types. So a grass type that deals with fire types is something pretty unique, because it also handles water types really well, outside of Ice Beams, because even if I have a Thick Fat, I'm hit overall 2 times, because I'm 4 times weak to Ice, so I don't really want to be taking Ice moves. But if it's like a Melodic with no special attack investment, I take under half from Ice Beams, so that's definitely clutch if I'm special defensive. But his Mon was for 80 points, and I feel like I've seen it for like 100 to 120, so I thought it was really nice value for this Appleton. And I feel like I wanted a bulky grass type, and for the value that it was, I think it was the best deal. I could have gotten like Roserade, but it doesn't take Earthquakes that well, a ground type, so I wanted something that does that. So the next Mon I wanted to get for pick 5, and the part of this wheel pick that you could call the second half. Again, instead of going for something that I really needed for the team, I instead went for value again. And from APA, I learned that tier 3 to 5 have pretty limited stealth rockers. Nothing that there's a couple decent mons, but there's something mons I really want to get right away. I have a reliable rocker and Clefable, but obviously if I want to run more offensive sets or setup sets, that I don't really want to be running rocks on that. So I figured I'd grab something pretty reliable, and for 40 points, I think this is great value, and that's Rhydon. Rhydon particularly nice in this gen because there's no hidden power, so you can't run like hidden power water or ground, or even hidden power ice to do pretty decent damage to me. So between this and Appleton, I shut down electrics really well, which I didn't have resist with my top 3 prior to that, but very reliable physically defensive mon. Can go special defensive if needed. Also has base 120, 130 attack, so it's not like it's passive at all. So also has the potential to sweep with Rock Polish and or Sword Stance. Don't imagine I'd be bringing that too much, but it's definitely an option that I can take teams by surprise if they're not prepared. So I figured just really great value for Rhydon. Now at this point, I still need like Ghost Resist and Speed. Rhydon provides another fire resist with Appleton and Rotom Wash, so fire types are pretty handled for Aegislash. Maybe another dark type switch in would be ideal, and maybe another ground resist. I have 2, so I think 3 would be pretty common. I think fire and ground are a little bit more of a concern for Rhydon than dark and ghost types. So I probably want like 3 fire and ghost and fire and ground resist. Probably need like maybe 2 dark and ghost resists. But regardless, I need a speed and ghost resist for sure. His team is very bulky at this point. I had 360 points left for 5 mons. And at this point I was considering 3 mons, but it was really 2. And I wanted to spend a lot of points on 1 mon and then leave maybe like about half of that 360 for the remaining 4. So one thing that I really didn't consider is Weavile, which is really nice. Gives me that speed and ghost resist. But it was also 180 points, and I felt like that was a little too much for what Weavile actually provided. It's fine. It's a good revenge killer for dragons, but I don't really need that on this team with Aegislash Clefable, so I feel like I wasn't going to be getting the value out of it like some specific teams would. So not really considering that mon. I was looking at Hawlucha and Snorlax. So 1 mon being Snorlax covers Ghost, great, and also has another fire resist, which is definitely something I'll take. Hawlucha provides, however, the speed and the dark answer and ground immunity. So basically 3 things into 1 for there. So Hawlucha also looks really nice in this role. And I know I suggested to a couple of people I know about what mon they think they should have taken it, and I think it was Mid said that my team was too bulky and he hated it already. So that basically gave me the answer about what I wanted to pick for my higher tiered mon. But before I grabbed it, because I'm pretty sure the team above me wasn't going to grab the mon I decided with, my first mon from this wheel Piggy could call again is a Selgor. So Selgor, fastest mon in the game outside of Ninjask. But I wasn't drafted, so the fastest mon that was drafted has spikes and T-spikes, which is something I definitely want for a bulkier team because I'm not going to be getting a grounded poison type based on the last picks that I got. So I did want something that had toxic spikes that could potentially wear down teams. I could go bulk. I mean, the bulk is really bad, but at least I can usually run max HP just because of how fast it is. You don't really need much speed investment to still outspeed stuff. In a pinch, it could go with unburdened sets if I really, really needed a speed at some point. It can also be a pretty decent Life Orb or Specs user, as it is coming off base 100 special attack and has pretty good coverage in Bug Buzz, Focus Blast, Grass coverage. A problem with a Selgor is just it's 145 speed and the next fastest mon is 86 speed and Rotom Wash. So I definitely want to patch up that speed gap because, I mean, I have a speed gap for APA, it's like 95 to 140. I don't have anything in between. And ideally, you want to fix that. It's not the biggest deal in the world if like the mons that are fulfilling those speed gaps are bad mons, then it's not worth it. But I think I'll be getting some decent mons to fill those speed gaps. But really, like a Selgor, the defensive option has also is Recover. So I'm definitely going to be bringing Recover as Selgor at least once this season. But I think if you guys suspect that if I went with a Selgor, I mean, it could still be open which mon I decided to go with. But I went with Snorlax and went for all bulk on this team. So I feel like most Wi-Fi leagues don't really go with like stall or really bulky teams. So I feel like this is going to be a pretty cool and unique experience. Maybe not cool. Hopefully the battles will be interesting with me making right pivots and such. But with this but Snorlax is probably the best Dragapult answer, really the best ghost type answer. Like Gengar Focus Blast isn't going to be doing a ton of them special defensive. Will-O-Wisp I don't really care about either because I'm still doing a lot of damage to Gengar. It can sweep with Curse Sets, Rest, and then Sleep Talk and Body Slam are 2 coverage moves and no Sleep Talk. Or Cycle Sets. Definitely usable. The berries recovering only a third instead of a half health makes it not as good, but definitely still bringable. And I imagine they will bring that set at some point. Also can be pretty offensive. Could be a Choice Banded and definitely do a lot of damage at that point because it is coming off base 110 attack. All 3 abilities are good. Immunity to prevent poisons, Thick Fat to deal with ice and fire types even better, and Gluttony for the berries. So I have 160 points left for the last 3 mons, so I feel like that's a pretty decent amount of points to fill some speed gaps. I do want another Defogger because currently it's only Rotom removing hazards, which isn't great. And a 3rd rocker would be ideal, but not the biggest deal in the world. And probably some more immediate offensive threats, because a lot of the mons I have are more passive in terms of setting up, and passive in terms of dealing damage right away. They can deal damage, but you need some time for them to set up first. So I want a couple mons that can give some offensive pressure, and it doesn't have to be full out stall with this team. So next Pokemon I got was another normal type in Cinccino. So 2 Ghost Resist, but Cinccino's not really going to act as like the normal type for the team. It's really there for the attack and speed. 95 attack is okay, but it comes with very strong attacks with Skill Link ability. You got Bullet Seed, Rock Blast, and Tail Slap. All 3 of those moves are essentially 125 base power with a lot more chances of crit. So that damage is usually going to be a little bit higher than 125 base, which is cool. It has U-turn for momentum. One thing that I didn't realize during the draft, it doesn't get a Wake Up Slap anymore. Because that's a move that was removed, which is pretty unfortunate because I don't hit steals. Unless I want to run Focus Blast. But I also have Aqua Tail if it's like a Steel Rock type or Steel Ground type. I'm still doing okay damage, but it's also only a 40-point mon, so I can't get everything out of Cinccino. But even if it doesn't have a return, it's not affected really by it because it runs Tail Slap anyway. So I'm pretty happy with this mon. And with 115 speed, I imagine there's not going to be any team that has 2 mons that outspeed Centino. Probably most teams will have 1 mon that outspeeds Centino, so that's also a pretty nice benefit there. The second last Pokemon I got, another rocker, as I mentioned before, Barbarical. Doesn't really help with a speed gap. It's like the base 70 range, 75 range, which I already kind of fulfill. Is it slower than that? 68, yeah. So I already have mons in that speed gap, but that's okay. Rocker that can, I think it's RUBL, so that's definitely a pretty high Smogon ranking for 40 points. Just because this can like sweep and outright win games if you don't have bulky answers to take it on. And I feel like teams are definitely going to overlook this mon, especially because Rotom is going to probably be the more threatening water type to deal with. It's a faster rocker than the Rhydon or the Clefable, which is definitely nice. It can run Scarf in the pinch for sure. And a Tough Claws just gives a really nice boost of attack to 105 base attack, which is pretty decent. And it has very nice defense. 72, 115 to set up a Shell Smash on physically based mons. Special defense, a little bit to be desired, but it's okay. Last mon, I wanted a Defogger or some type of removal just because it's only Rotom Wash in the team. And I have a speed gap between 86 and 115. Again, that's a lot better than my APA speed gap, but definitely something I wanted to fix. So 2 mons I considered Sigilyph and Xatu in this role, and I chose to go with the more offensive Sigilyph over the more bulky Xatu. Xatu is nice because of Magic Bounce, but I do like the offensive capabilities of Sigilyph a lot more. It can absorb status, which Xatu kind of can too, but if there's like a Scald, I can take Scald with really no issue with this mon. A lot of mons my team can handle Scald. Tinted Lens is definitely an option to do a lot of damage to something that's not expected, like Choice Specs. Tinted Lens, Air Slash is going to be doing a lot of damage to mons that probably wouldn't expect to take that much, like from Steel types, which generally have lower special defense. But yeah, no, I like the Life Orb capability from 103 base special attack. Like the last couple mons I got, Snorlax and Tina, Barbarical, and more physical. So I think getting something more special attacking base is nice. Still has pretty decent bulk. It's definitely usable, and it has reliable recovery and roost. So that's definitely nice. I can set up Cosmic Powers and Calm Minds, so I can potentially sweep games with this set as well. And I believe it gets stored power. Yeah, it definitely gets stored power. So it has the capability to sweep games. And again, fulfills a nice speed, 97. So right between 115 and 86 from the Rotom. So that's my team there. A really bulky team to take down. But I feel like all my bulk has offensive capabilities to win games. So I don't really call this team passive. And I really like the combination of this team with Toxic Spikes, Excelgor. Couple things to note about this team. I don't have a dark type, so bulky psychic can be an issue. I do have a Aegislash to take that on pretty well, but only Necrozma and Reuniclus really fall into that bulky psychic role. Musharna to an extent too, that I would be that worried about. But at least for 2 of them, I can Toxic, and Reuniclus I have ways to pressure, so I'm not that big of a deal about it. Now, granted, Poison, which is usually bad, but I mean, I have Aegislash, doesn't care. Clefable doesn't care. Rotom Wash doesn't care. Snorlax can have immunity. Sigilyph doesn't care. And most of the other mons are offensive based, I guess, besides Appleton and Rhydon. So, like, more offensive mons don't necessarily care about taking 12% damage from T-Spikes. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much where I'm going to leave this team off. This is going up a little bit late, so sorry about that. I'll have my week 1 battle up tomorrow. But make sure you guys leave a like. And maybe give a subscription. I'm getting pretty close to 100 subs, so that would be a pretty cool accomplishment to get to by the end of this season. And make sure you go check the other Week 1 games and draft analysis from the other coaches in the league. But until next time, later, guys. And let's see if I come back as champion. But you guys know I will. That's easy.